Behind the Signs, Season 1, Episode 4, with Corey Evitts.
That was a good clack.
Hi, friends, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Behind the Sign. We always appreciate that you've tuned in, and it's going to be very exciting today because we have someone that you all know and you all love. And, well, should we just go ahead and say, Sherry?
Let's let it out.
All right. It's Corey Evitts.
Hello, everybody.
Corey, thank you so much for joining us today on Behind the Sign.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm pretty excited about this myself.
Yeah, we're so excited. We all know your music and love your music. We see you out in town performing, but we don't know a whole lot about you. And that's what we're here to learn today. So we want to tell your story.
All right. Well, how far back you want me to go? You want me to get into like how I got into music?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So my mom tells me that she bought me a toy drum when I was 2, and that she could tell I was more fixated on that than any of the other toys. So I would sit and play the drum, you know. And my mom also loves to tell me how energetic I was as a kid. I think she is basically trying to tell me I was a pain. and then another time she does tell me that. She'll say, if you were the first kid, you would have been the last. She says that a lot. But apparently I was always into something, always moving around, but there was something about that drum that could keep my attention. And then I do remember getting a toy guitar when I was 3 for Christmas. But there's a few moments I can remember where it was almost like the stars aligned and music just spoke to me. And the first moment that I can remember like that, my brother had his 9th birthday party. And so I was not quite 4. This would have been about 6 weeks before I turned 4. And my mom and dad got him a keyboard, and he hated the thing. He was angry. He wanted a baseball bat. And I loved it. And I would sit and press all the buttons and mess with all the sounds and make up my own song. So that's really, for me, what I remember being the start of my love for music. And then when I was about 12, I started to hear classic rock. I was not really supposed to be listening to that. We were Pentecostal, so you're not supposed to listen to anything other than Christian music, you know?
Right.
But I heard Aerosmith coming from my older brother's bedroom. He was a senior in high school, and I was like, what is that? And he was like, you know, it's funny now, but he was like, this came out in the 70s. You know, like, this is old, you know? But I was like, this is awesome. And then when I was 13, I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan on TV one night. They were doing like a documentary about his life, and I'd never seen anyone play guitar like that. And that was it. That was the moment where I just told myself, I'm never doing anything else.
You just knew.
I literally just knew. And everything changed about me. So I got my first guitar, my first real guitar, probably like a week or 2 later, convinced my dad to take me to Unga Bunga in Paducah.
Oh, I remember Unga Bunga.
Yeah. And I didn't have enough money. I was 13. I was mowing lawns, but it was still winter time. You know, it was January. And so they had this like electric guitar kit for starters. And I think I maybe had like $160 saved. And the whole thing was like $350 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like,
A little above your budget.
yeah. And my dad was really strict too, and wasn't one to really give in about anything. And he hated rock music, hated it. And so I remember, like, the guy told me how much it cost. He was like, oh, this whole thing's like $360. And I looked at my dad, you know, and I told the guy, I said, I'll be back. Let me mow some more lawns this summer. I'll be back. And my dad said, I'll help you buy it. And I said, yeah, I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I said, I'll pay you back. And he goes, and so that was it. So he would always gripe about it. But when push came to shove, he was supportive, you know.
You think he just knew?
Well, I don't know, because his whole thing, he was like, you're not going to learn to play that thing. I don't know if that was like motivation, if he was just trying to motivate me. But yeah, when push came to shove, you know, he was supportive. And then I was in a Christian rock band at the time. And
Do you remember the name?
oh yeah, JCPC was the name. And we were just Pentecostal kids, making noise. And I always played piano because I grew up playing piano. Well, then I started showing up to our band practices. I'm like, yeah, I'm a guitar player now. And kind of just faked it until I had made it. But then we legitimately, when I was about 14, 15, we started playing a bunch of shows in this area, and we're like writing our own songs.
Did you have guitar lessons at that time, or was all this
No.
natural talent?
No, I taught myself. I had been taught to play piano by a dear lady. Her name is Melinda Gilbert. I love Melinda. I actually told her a few weeks ago, like, hey, other than my mom and my grandma, no other woman has ever had the impact on my life that you had. But she was a Pentecostal pastor's wife, and she taught me to play like Southern gospel on piano when I was a kid, like a young kid. And so she had taught me what I later learned was like music theory and ear training. I learned that when I went to music college, but she didn't call it that. She was like, well, we're going to learn I'll Fly Away. We're going to learn Victory in Jesus. You're going to put your hands here. You do this. Listen for this. Do this. But what she was teaching me was basically how to use my ear and hear all the changes and everything. So when I started playing guitar, I kind of knew up here what to do. I just had to learn what to do with my hands.
Right.
But a real quick addendum onto that, my dad passed away when I was 16. And again, he hated rock and roll. But he had went to the doctor about 2 weeks before he died, and he came home and he was just in a great mood. He was like, man, my nurse was telling me all about that JCPC show the other night. He goes, I heard JCPC's the hottest band around. So he was proud of me.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's basically how everything got started for me.
Yeah. Wow. That's really a cool story. And the fact that you were Pentecost and learned like gospel music, and then it just rolled from there. And then what happens? So your dad passes, and what did you do? What was your next steps?
This actually flows really well. So right after my dad passed, we won a battle of the bands. The local Christian radio station, I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was 89.7 back in the day. It was a Christian rock station. They had a battle of the bands in Murray. And this is a crazy story now that I think about it, but they chose 5 bands, and you had to submit like a tape, and we weren't in the top 5. We were like an alternate or something.
Behind the Sign is brought to you by L.A. Miller & Associates, your partner in small business growth. From accounting to strategy, their team is here to guide you every step of the way. L.A. Miller & Associates, because your success is their business.
But then some band dropped out or whatever, so we got to go to this competition in Murray, and we were young. We were probably the youngest band, and we ended up winning the whole thing. This was 2 months after my dad died, so we win this competition, and we won free studio time with a recording studio in Mayfield. We did not know what we were doing at all. So we were, again, teenagers and pretty young. I mean, like 15, 16,
How many
17.
of you were in the band?
At that time, 4.
Okay.
We had started out with a 5th member, and then he kind of got into other things, just wasn't as interested in music. But there were 4 of us. I always played lead guitar. I didn't really sing much at that point in time. But man, we got in the studio, and we were just not a studio band. We were a live band. We were very good at working a crowd, but when we started hearing ourselves played back, and like
It was just different.
it was very different. And I was the one pushing, like, we need to do this. We need to do this. We don't sound like the stuff on the radio. We need to practice more. We need to, whatever. But then I started watching the guy behind the computer. I'm like, if I could learn how to do his job, this would be a lot better. And this is me at 16, and I probably was right, but I'm thinking nobody knows more what we should sound like than me. But I'm completely dependent on somebody else. He's a cool dude, by the way. We're still friends. I mean, I think he was probably up against it dealing with a bunch of young kids. But that inspired me to major in music in college. So for the next few years, I started like really thinking about, we need these kind of guitar tones. We need to sound like this. Why don't we sound like people on the radio? And then my senior year of high school, we had a college fair. And this guy from Greenville College came and had a bunch of literature about their recording engineering program. And I thought, there's no way I can afford this. Like, we don't have money. I can't go to college. I can't go to that college at all. But my uncle found out about it, and he was like, Corey, I think you're probably eligible for all kinds of stuff, and you have good grades. I think we can get you there, almost completely for free.
Oh, wow.
Now, it did end up costing me about 25% of the normal tuition, but I went to Greenville College, majored in music, and I majored in recording engineering, but then also took like all the same music theory classes that a music teacher would have to take. So that way, later in life, if I want to teach in a high school or something, I just have to get a master's degree in education. But then right after college, I came home. I had no money. I don't know how I blew through all my money. I think I had like $5 or $6 grand, and it was gone in like 3 months. I have no clue where it went either, but I had to find a job. And so I went to all the local guitar stores and just said, hey, do you need a teacher? And Brandon Allen at Allen Music hired me. And so I did that, and then we ended up forming like a school of rock for kids, and I was the head instructor. So I was booking shows for 6 bands of kids, and I was teaching like 50 or 60 private lessons a week. And then eventually just thought, okay, it's time for me to start doing what I've always wanted to do. I've always dreamed of performing myself. And so I started playing shows first with just a guitar, acoustic guitar. I had never really done that. I'd always played lead electric guitar. My inspirations were Stevie Ray Vaughan and Joe Perry from Aerosmith and Eddie Van Halen and Angus Young from AC/DC. So when I started performing out, like playing in these local bars and restaurants, that was different. I had never really sang a lot either in front of people. So I was playing acoustic guitar and singing. But then I thought, well, I could play all these other instruments. I should start adding things to my show. I need something that sets me apart from everybody else. Well, I knew how to play piano, so I started bringing a keyboard and started doing that. And then I thought, well, I can play drums. Why don't I kick a drum?
And at this point, are you playing locally here in Paducah?
Dozy Place was the first place that ever hired me. Shout out to Paul Signa. He's one of my good friends now. But I remember walking in, and a girl I went to high school with was the bartender. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about trying to start playing some acoustic shows. And she was like, let me get Paul. And she went to the back, and I could tell she was talking to him. And he came out, and he was like, Lindsay says you're cool. When
That sounds like right.
Yeah, he goes, when do you want to start? He's like, I'll give you $100 and a free meal. And I was like, okay. Shook hands, boom. And that was in January. And then at the end of the year, he asked me to be his house band.
January of what year? Do you remember the year?
2014.
2014.
So then in 2015 and 2016, I was the house band at Doe's, which means at first I played every Saturday night and one Friday a month. Then it was every Friday, every Sunday, and one Saturday a month. And then I started branching out and playing like other places in Paducah, JP's and D. Fratelli's, which I think neither one of those are in existence anymore.
Nope.
And then somebody was like, have you heard of the Southern Illinois Wine Trail? Well, I grew up Pentecostal, so the answer was no. I had not heard of any of those wineries, but I started doing that.
Behind the Sign is proudly sponsored by L.A. Miller & Associates, your trusted partner in small business growth. For more than 30 years, L.A. Miller has been helping entrepreneurs not just balance their books, but build the business of their dreams. From accounting and tax strategy to consulting and coaching, their team understands that numbers are only part of the story. The real story is your growth. Whether you're just opening your doors or scaling to the next level, L.A. Miller & Associates stands beside you with the expertise, tools, and personal guidance you need to succeed. Because at L.A. Miller, supporting small business isn't just what they do, it's who they are. L.A. Miller & Associates, your partner in growth, your partner in business. Yeah.
And then...
Was this the point that you were like, this is a thing?
Well, I didn't know if it was going to work or not. The tipping point, there were 2 tipping points for that. So in like October of 2016, I went to a songwriters festival in Pensacola. My best friend, childhood best friend, who was also in JCPC with me, he went with me. And on the way home, I was like, man, I didn't see anybody down there doing anything I'm not capable of. And I said, I really think I was probably the best. And he said, yeah, you were. And I said, I saw one guy that's a better guitar player than me, but that's it. And I feel like I was the best songwriter and the best performer. And he was like, you are, and I don't know why you're still working that job. And I said, well, I love my kids and they're like a family to me, and I'm single. What's going to happen when I don't have that in my life anymore?
And you're talking about the kids that you're teaching.
I was teaching, and he said, if you really want to change things, go out and make some money. He said, you could build a school for these kids. And so I was like, maybe he's right. And then probably about 4 or 5 months later, I'd been in love with this girl. She just wasn't in love with me. She didn't have the same feelings, and it broke my heart. And I was talking to someone in my family, and I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be where she was, and man, love is a powerful thing. Like, I've never felt that. She is the only person or thing I've ever loved more than music. I would have chosen her over all of this. And somebody in my family was like, Corey, you've been talking about doing this touring thing for years, and this isn't going to work out with her. Just go leave Paducah. And that was it. And I still remember that was February 8th, 2017. I remember that because that's also the day my dad passed away. So it was the anniversary of my father's passing.
Yep.
And it was this very real, like, reality in your face. Like, man, you only get so much life, And so they talked me into doing it. I remember I went to lunch with Christy Catarano. She was like a mom to me. And she's like, Corey, you just need to do it. And so that day I contacted my boss and I was like, hey, I'm going to finish the semester with the kids, but then that's it. And I bought a minivan, moved out of my apartment almost immediately, and just went for it. And so the moment I knew it was going to work was about 6 weeks after I quit my job. I was at Starview Winery in Cobden, Illinois, and there was a bunch of people. And somebody was like, hey man, you got a lot of people here to see you today. And I thought, oh, that's funny joke. And then I realized, no, they really are here to see me. And I thought, this is going to work. I'm going to be able to make enough money doing this. So that was really the point where I realized it was going to work.
Yeah, and what a scary leap. It's kind of that give up everything to go for it.
I was terrified. I actually told Sherry one day that I was kind of raised, this is no joke, amongst hillbillies. So my grandparents were actual hillbillies, like no running water, metal wash tub on the house that we took a bath in the yard in the metal wash tub. And they very much had the save everything mentality. My mom grew up that way. My mom is not a risk taker whatsoever. She wanted to stay in the area so she could be close to my grandpa and grandma. Then I grew up in that real strict religious environment. And then because of my dad's disability, my parents struggled financially. So we didn't have any money. So like everybody in my sphere was in the, like, we buy everything at the dollar store. We don't throw anything out. You get hand-me-downs from your cousins. You drink a sweet tea from McDonald's and you don't finish it. You put tin foil on it and stick it in the fridge. We can all our own food. That's how I grew up. So the idea...
Very frugal.
Yeah, the idea of a risk was terrifying. But really what scared me the most, it wasn't the money thing, because I knew I could go back to teaching. It was am I going to be able to be alone all the time? Because I really fell in love with those children and their parents. They were my family. I loved all of them. I knew all their moms and dads, their siblings. It was a giant family that I had going on at Allen Music. So I knew when I took myself out of that, I was going to be alone a lot and I wasn't going to have a community. And then I didn't know if I would like traveling all the time. I actually now love it, and I've fallen in love with my audience. So now I really feel a connection with the people I'm performing in front of. So I am getting, the love there. And then now I love traveling so much that even when I'm in Paducah, I have to take like an hour drive every morning around town because I can't sit still. I'm so used to being on the road.
Yeah, it's just a part of you now.
Yeah.
But the reconciliation of losing that part of you, that connection with the kids to follow your dream, had to be hard. I mean, that's tough. But now, today, would you say you made the right decision in those moments?
100%. There were a few reasons why I made that choice. One, I knew this was my dream, my calling. I didn't say this, but since 13, I have believed this is my mission in life. That's why I'm doing it. And I've always seen it as a way to serve. But also I knew, we're telling these kids to follow their dreams. I need to do it. But then all of them had gotten to a point where I knew they would keep progressing without me. So my youngest kid at that point was probably about 13 or 14. And now one of my kids is a music therapist in California. One of them is an engineer, a studio engineer in Austin, Texas. One of my little girls just graduated from Belmont in Nashville. Two of my kids lead worship at Heartland, which is the biggest church in our area.
Yes.
Andrew Allen, who was a student of mine, is now one of my best friends, but he's helping his dad run Allen Music, and he's now in a band with me. So they've all gone on to be successful.
Yeah.
I've played two of my students' weddings, and one of my little girls is getting married next year. I'm playing her wedding, so she'll be the third. So I feel like they're all like thriving, and they're all still playing music.
It's almost as though sometimes it's the counterintuitive things, those choices that we make that make the biggest impact. And so just hearing that part of your story makes me think that as they looked up to you following their dreams, they knew they could also do big things. Because I'm hearing you say a lot of those children did big things that maybe otherwise they wouldn't have, had you not been the person, the mentor that they were looking up to.
Yeah, I think about that. Like, well, one, the word educate doesn't mean to teach somebody something. It means they already have something inside of them. You're helping extract something that's already there. So I feel like God put me there at that point in time, but we were all benefiting. Like, I was learning just as much from them as they were learning from me. But so I always see it as like, it's not so much they learned from me per se. It was like the role we were in life at that time. But now what's cool is like some of them are specializing in things where I need their advice. So like a few of my kids are audio engineers. So when I just released that EP in the final mixing stages, I called one of my kids who's in Memphis. I knew he was going to be home for the 4th of July. And I said, hey, you want to help me do the final mixes? So like, I mean, they're all like expert level at whatever they're doing.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
That the students are now helping the teacher.
Yeah.
You know, the roles reversed.
And we're just friends. You know, I tell them that.
I love
I'm like,
that.
you know, I'm your friend. Yes, I'm like the big brother or the uncle or whatever, but you're all like, I look up to you too.
Right.
I can learn from you.
That's right.
You know, so we're all playing our role.
Right. So is this your album cover for the EP that you just released?
It is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's called
This
Five
is where
Tracks.
you are now, Corey. This.
Yeah, on top of that van.
On top of that van.
But yeah, that's called 5 Tracks for Freedom. So like I said, I've always felt called to serve. I believe, I used to think like, what am I going to tell people if I get on a stage? You know, so growing up Pentecostal, I always thought, well, you know, I'll do some type of like evangelizing. And I feel like the message I'm supposed to give everybody is you are one of a kind. You can't be replaced. And every one of us has infinite value. So there's hope. I know there's a lot of hopeless people, or they feel hopeless, but I want to tell them, you know, you're not hopeless. There really is hope in life, but there's only one of you. Can't be replaced. This EP is political, and I don't choose like a side, or I'm not choosing a political party, but it's more of me calling out what I see as the corruption in both of our political parties. And the reason that's important to me is because I do believe that we're all valuable, and what makes America what it is, what makes us great, is that we have the best citizens. We have some of everybody. So why are so many of us worshiping other humans? We're worshiping our leaders, and we're fighting each other, when in reality, we're of infinite value, and they have nothing without us. We make this country go. The men and women that work jobs like we have, you know, we are what make this country great. We have every nationality, every ethnicity, we have all the different religions represented. And so this EP, that's what it is. It's me trying to demonstrate, hey, regardless of who you vote for, these people don't really care about you the way your neighbor does.
Right.
So why are we fighting each other for people that don't even know us when we should be working together, because we are what's going to make our own communities better? And I just feel like that goes hand in hand with what I've always felt about wanting to serve and tell people about their value. But yeah, it's called 5 Tracks for Freedom, and I'm still recording. These are 5 songs that are going to be on a full album.
How do people find your album?
You can go really to any streaming service. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Apple's the best for me. Apple takes care of musicians. So if you purchase it from the iTunes store, I think it costs $4.95. I will get most of that. They'll take out some fees, but even their downloads and their streams, Apple pays musicians more than the other services.
All right, so use Apple.
Yeah.
If you
Let's
can.
use Apple if we can.
Yeah, now believe so strongly in the message, though, any service is fine.
Sure.
Right.
So,
All right. And when was this released?
July 17th, so about a month ago.
Okay. And it's 5 tracks only. Are there going to be any more tracks added?
Oh, yeah.
Where does it go from here?
Yeah, so these will all be on a larger album.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it done by the end of the year. So there's another.
How hard is that?
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Well, as far as music goes, I did release an EP called Genesis a few years ago. That was a lot easier. Most of that took like 3 weeks. This is way different. I mean, I've had to sit through hundreds and hundreds of hours of news footage. And then also the amount of things going on in my music now, there's so much more. There's all kinds of synthesizers, and I'm doing sampling where I'm taking things out of like video games and movies and using it. And then the styles of music, there's like all kinds of styles. There's outlaw country, there's pop, there's rock, there's like an 80s sounding song. Whereas my previous EP was all just like acoustic driven pop.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is super difficult. When I'm not playing shows, I'm in a recording studio, working long hours. Sometimes I sleep out there. But yeah, this is just the beginning of a larger project that I'm hoping to finish by the end of the year, or at least very early into next year.
Yeah. So this is a really heartfelt mission for you. And where do you record?
I have
Locally?
a studio. Yeah, I rent a building
In-
from actually one of your clients.
Oh.
He's one of my best friends, and I've been accumulating equipment for like the last decade, so I have my own studio. Yeah, so that tangible
Very
property
good.
tax that we have to make sure I pay every year, that's part of it.
Well, very good. This is awesome. And now you're on another mission,
Yeah.
right? In tandem with this.
I am.
I feel like we should definitely take a minute and talk about that because it's really great.
We definitely
Tell
should.
us.
So, I'm going to look at the people.
Yeah.
I felt led, to use a Pentecostal term, to speak out about what's going on in our country. And again, I don't see it as a red or blue. I see it as like we need to quit fighting each other and hold all of our leaders accountable. But I also felt like it's not enough to just make music about that. I need to be doing what I'm advocating for in my music. I need to be building my own community. And there's a lot of people here that feel the same way. They have the same thought processes. Foster Stacy from Paducah Beer Works is one of them. My good friend Toby Glass from Metropolis Music and Media. So we have started something called Empower Paducah. And what that is once a month we have a concert at Paducah Beer Works. It is always the last Monday of the month. We have 2 artists that play. It's typically about a 2-hour show. We do a $10 cover charge, and we split that money down the middle. Half of all that goes to area children, and we are using Starfish Orphan Ministry to make sure the kids get the money. The other half goes to a local veteran, and we are using the We Care, We Share Foundation for that. And we are actually specifically giving that money to specific needs. So we're not just giving the money to those foundations, we're actually asking, how can we apply this? And so last month we used our money for Starfish to build beds for area children. And then we gave the other half to a veteran in Williamson County, Illinois, who needed tires put on his car and an oil change. So every month we're going to have specific people that are getting the money. That way we can be accountable, but also we know exactly whom we're helping. And then above and beyond that, we're wanting to get everyone to come to these shows. We're booking a wide variety of artists. We want people to come together once a month and just take part in our community, and all the pressures of life and even all the arguing and fighting that can stay outside. We'll all come together, have a good time, enjoy some great music, some food. Our mayor's on board. He's going to be at the next several. And we want people to make connections while they're there, above and beyond raising money for kids and veterans. We want people to develop a community, and we want to actually encourage people to start having some of those difficult discussions, but face to face and in a loving way. So hopefully we can strengthen our community and then also help people that are not able to help themselves.
Well, that is such a big mission to do, and I believe that it will be embraced by the community. I think that mostly it's just getting the word out about what you're doing, when they show, where they're going and how they support you. And so once again, tell that one more time. So every month,
the last Monday of every month, we will be at Paducah Beer Works. The doors open at 6:30, and the show is going to be from 7 to 9. Sometimes the second artist may go over a little bit. We usually have a solo performer or a duo go first, and then a full band go second.
Is there a cover charge?
Yeah, $10 cover charge. Half will always go to benefit area children, and half will go to help a local veteran or veterans. Also, our veteran liaison, Celia Robertson from We Care, We Share, she will always be present. So if people want to just make a donation above and beyond, they can. If they just want to ask questions about how they can volunteer, they can do that. And we're also going to have like a therapist, psychologist on hand if anyone is struggling or thinking about self-harm or really needs help working through something. We'll have a psychologist, therapist on hand to help them get help as well.
Okay.
Wow.
And is there somewhere that people can go for more information on this? A website, a Facebook page? What do we need to tell them?
Absolutely. So Paducah Beer Works always has the information on their Facebook page, and they will have a link. If you want to buy tickets ahead of time, you can do that. But they will always have this month's artists, and then just let you know exactly when and where to go. But Paducah Beer Works, and I should probably spell that. Paducah, that's pretty obvious, but Works is W-E-R-K-S. So beer, W-E-R-K-S. And you can find all the information there.
So you're really, you're not only supporting nonprofits in the community, you're supporting for-profits. I mean, they're graciously opening up their doors on a day that they're normally closed. So what a ripple effect that you've got going out doing that.
That's the vision. And our tagline that I keep saying is, we all give a little, we all gain a lot. So all of the bands are donating their time. It is a Monday night, so usually bands don't have shows booked. So we're not asking them to donate money, but they are donating time. But if all of the artists invite their crowd, then every artist is going to be exposed to new people.
Sure.
Allen Music is giving the musicians a discount. But Allen Music is also going to benefit because all the local musicians who are playing are going to go to Allen Music. The local printing company's doing the same thing. Same thing there. They're going to get all the bands, business.
Yeah.
So we're all benefiting here. And that's the thing. That's the message, is you don't have to be Gandhi. You don't have to be a monk. You don't have
Right.
to take a vow of poverty to benefit the world. If we all just give a little bit here and be sensible and quit our fighting, we can all benefit, and then we can help the people that can't help themselves. So
That's right.
yeah.
That's wonderful, Corey. Thank you so much you're heading that mission, right? Was that
Foster
your
and I-
idea?
Yeah, Foster and I are working together to do that.
Well, thank you, and thank Foster for doing that. The community definitely needs that, and the people that are benefiting, I'm sure, will be so grateful that you're doing that, and we hope that that goes a long way. We will do everything we can to help promote that and share how people find you, find the schedules, but do you list the bands that are playing? Are you going to be playing? I think that a lot of people want to know that.
Yes, so I actually just started a band called Corey Evitts and Revolver, and I think we're going to play in October.
Okay.
We do play some harder rock and stuff, and I think that October would be the month to do that.
Rock on.
But in September, we have Carson Denfip. He's actually a former student of mine as well. Super talented guy, does a lot of stuff in Nashville. And then we have Haas Holiday, which is a local band. They're phenomenal. And then, I think my band's going to be playing in October.
All right. Very good.
Well, you're such a creative. Any other creative things going on?
I do have a podcast.
Well, how convenient.
Yeah, it is called Not a Rock Star with Corey Evitts. And once a week, we interview the real rock stars, or I ride along in my touring van with a real rock star, somebody who's impacting our community. A certain accountant is going to be on in a few weeks. It might be somebody sitting beside me. So you need to check out Not a Rock Star with Corey Evitts. And then, I'm hoping that I never stop recording. So I hope I can just record my own music when I'm not on the road, and then every year or so, or every year and a half, put out new music. And then I'm very excited about being in a band again. I'm not going to quit doing my one-man band act. I'm going to keep doing that. But now, hopefully, every so many weeks, I can play a show with a full band. And then my long-term goal is that I can do, hopefully we have a big audience, and we can do shows where I'm doing both the one-man band thing and then gradually incorporate several musicians. That's everything I got going.
All right, awesome. Well, the one thing I didn't hear you say, sometimes when we talk about podcasts, again, people don't know how to find it. Tell them how to find it.
Okay, so we are on YouTube, which you can see the video of the podcast. If you go to YouTube and you can go to the Corey Evitts Music YouTube channel, and you can find the podcast there. But then if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast, you're going to search Not a Rock Star with Corey Evitts. There is an E in my first name. A lot of people go wrong there. Corey. And then my last name is not Evans. It's Evitts. Evitts. So Not a Rock Star with Corey Evitts.
All right. Look it up. Because we've got some superstars going to be on there.
Absolutely.
One sitting right here. All right. Well, before we wrap up, one of our favorite parts of the show, there's some cards sitting beside you. If I had a drum, I would give a drum roll. Can you do a drum roll for us?
I tried to pick
your own drum roll.
I tried to pick which one I thought you were going to pick. I stacked the deck over here. I've watched the way people are picking the cards.
First of all, what is this? Is this like a question I'm supposed to answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're going to pick one and answer. And apparently Sherry has set you up.
And that is the card that people pick.
You know what's really
I did
messed up?
set you up.
I was going to go for one of these, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do the one she doesn't think.
That's okay, because when we finish, I'm going to go ahead and ask you the other questions.
That's some David
a little
Blaine
bit
stuff
separate.
you just pulled.
All right.
If your business was a type of food, what would it be and why?
I rode in his van.
Yeah. Well, you saw you said a French fry. I know for a fact there was a Munchies cracker in the floorboard. By the way, I vacuumed before she got in, but Sherry dropped a magnet that we needed, so we had to pull the seat forward, and that's where we found the Munchies cracker. Look, I'm gonna name a restaurant. It would be Pizza Inn. Here's why. What I try to do is give something for everybody. And really my long-term goal is that these concerts that we're hopefully eventually doing with, me doing some stuff solo, but the band, I want it to be like the bazaar, the carnival. I want something for everybody. So like Pizza Inn has that phenomenal pizza buffet. They're not paying me as a sponsor, but My brother may or may
But
not work
there are
there.
opportunities.
Yeah, my brother works there, and former lead singer of JCPC, Ryan Summers, is the manager.
Oh.
But they do have something for everybody, and even if you
do.
don't like pizza, they got spaghetti, they got a salad bar. So yeah, that I would
So
do
you
pizza.
be the buffet.
Yeah,
A
a buffet
buffet.
was
Okay.
really what I was
Pizza
thinking.
buffet, yeah.
An all-American
Or like
buffet.
a Golden Corral. They
Oh.
got everything.
Do they even still exist?
They do in Evansville, Indiana.
Yeah.
I know that.
All right,
I
we're
think
going to
they
ask
do.
you to pick card number 2,
We call
just
them
because
this
it
too?
was so fun.
You-
Well,
however
you can pick any you
After
want.
that, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
What's your go-to hype song when you're having a rough business day? Interesting. I'll give you a few. Song of the South, because it reminds me of my grandpa and grandma. That was their life. There's a line in that song that says, somebody told us Wall Street fell. We were so poor that we couldn't tell.
Oh.
And my grandma told my sister and I that. So he said, when the Depression happened, she was like, we didn't know there was a Depression. You know, so there's that. Learning to Fly by Tom Petty, I feel like is my song. And then there's a song called Gimme Rockaway by a guy named Steve Conti. And if they ever make a movie about my life, that's going to be the closing credits. So I listen to that one to get pumped. So,
All right.
Those are my go-tos. Am I supposed to do the other ones real quick, or just those two?
Just those two.
Just those
All
two
right.
for right now.
All
All
right.
right.
Those two.
So we'll wrap up
Yeah.
here. Corey, thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I
It
appreciate
has
it.
been an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. And I can't wait to hear more about the podcast you guys did right before you rolled in here. We had to kind of put the brakes on, not to let the cat out of the bag on this show before you release. So that'll be a couple of weeks, right? And we'll all be watching for that. So thank you again.
Yes.
Your story has been wonderful. I'm glad to know that. I've known you for a long time. I've seen a lot of your shows, and I didn't really know much about you. So thanks for sharing that with us today. And thank you for joining us. If you didn't watch the show, you should, because I think we're going to try to get some pictures from Corey to kind of go along with the story that we'll post when we air this on YouTube. As always, we appreciate you. It takes you guys following us to grow the movement, to tell the stories of our businesses and our artists and all the people that make this community work and go around. Thank you, Sherry, for helping host the show.
This is a blessing. Corey, your friendship is a blessing. I think the world of you.
And thank you, Renee, behind the scenes for doing our production. We appreciate you. Y'all don't see her, but she does a lot for us. And so until next time, we'll say bye, and we love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been a Collab-Works media production.